Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. Well, there's a brighter than usual spotlight on the race of Indiana Attorney General this year, mostly because of a person who's not in the race, the current AG, Curtis Hill. Hill's sexual misconduct while in office led to Republicans to choose former U.S. Representative Todd Rokita to face off against Democrat Jonathan Weinzapfel. Our State House reporter Brandon Smith sat down with both candidates to talk about the race. We begin first with his conversation with Todd Rokita.
How would you run the office differently in the next 4 years than it has the last 4 years?
Well, I would hope that there wouldn't be a distraction, right? And you can't deny the fact that, you know, there's obviously a lot of distraction in the office when the head of your office is under such a cloud. And then, like I did when I was Secretary of State, I have a culture in the office that allows people to serve with servants' hearts, being good counsel to the General Assembly, good counsel to the governor, and protecting the people of Indiana when it comes to their consumer decisions and how they're interacted with businesses around the state.
Indiana's currently involved with, led by Curtis Hill, a lawsuit that seeks to strike down the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah.
Would you want to continue Indiana's involvement in that lawsuit, and why would that be a good thing for the country and for the state?
I would keep us in that lawsuit to make sure our points as a state were being made. I believe, and it's been proven now with nearly a decade of Obamacare under our belts, that the promises haven't been kept. Consider the Healthy Indiana Plan. Now that predated Obamacare. We created this program to make sure that those that found themselves in a gap.
But isn't the expansion of the Healthy Indiana Plan funded by the Affordable Care Act?
Correct. That's correct. But that doesn't mean the funding has to go away, just the bad policies.
Inherent in the Affordable Care Act are protections for those with pre-existing conditions, the lifetime caps. How do you say, well, I like that, but I'm also fighting to get rid of this law?
Right. So to be clear, I am for covering people with pre-existing conditions. And although the Attorney General's office isn't a lawmaking office, I'm not the legislature, but I would be for and would help the General Assembly make sure that pre-existing conditions were covered.
The issue that's seemingly taking over all of our lives the last several months, COVID-19, how does the Attorney General's office, and how would it under your leadership intersect in addressing the pandemic?
Several different ways, and it's one of the main reasons I'm running. A lot of scam artists will be coming out. A lot of fraud will be out there. I'm the only one in this race that has a record of defending Indiana voters and taxpayers against fraudulent activity. When I was Secretary of State, we got 300 years of jail time for white-collar criminals. Also, look, we need to make this economy grow as quickly as we can. So what does the Attorney General have to do with economic development? Well, a lot. By virtue of protecting first against federal government regulatory overreach. And then even if our state agencies got out of hand in terms of stopping the economy from coming back and growing.
What role would you foresee playing in the debate around police reform, and what police reform do you think is needed in Indiana?
Yeah. The first question we have to ask is what's being taught right now? Oh, reform this and reform that, and no, don't do this anymore, but do this all the time. That's just a political decision that's being made because of a crisis at hand. What we really ought to do, if we want good policing, is first of all, listen to our police officers, find out what they're being taught right now. Once we understand that as leaders in a community, then we can decide, okay, together, with input from all stakeholders, neighborhood associations, community groups, the police officers, of course, themselves and their leadership.
I think a lot of Hoosiers don't know exactly what the Attorney General does. What is the most important duty of that office in your mind?
Look, at the end of the day, we have got to protect people. That's what government is for. And protect people has several different meanings. It's protecting them from consumer fraud and things like that the Attorney General does. But it also means protecting their liberty. It also means protecting their rights.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Democratic candidate Jonathan Weinzapfel is a former mayor of Evansville. He says he wants to tone down partisanship in the office of state government's top lawyer. Weinzapfel talked with Brandon Smith about the race's big issues and how he'd approached the job differently than its current occupant.
As you step into the office of Attorney General, if you win this race, what do you do differently? What is your priority in terms of changing how that office is run?
Well, I had the opportunity to talk to some former deputy attorney generals, and it was a very interesting exchange. And What they have told me is that, his ethical issues have been a huge distraction. His real focus on some partisan national issues has been a real distraction. As a result, there really hasn't been a focus on Indiana. And I think what I would offer is something completely different. I'm not interested in getting Indiana involved in national lawsuits. I'm not interested in playing the DC political games. I'm only going to get involved if it has a direct impact on Hoosiers.
The lawsuit that Indiana, led by Curtis Hill, is involved in trying to permanently strike down across the board the Affordable Care Act. What do you see as the future of health care as it relates to how you would lead Indiana as Attorney General?
Well, first and foremost, we'll pull Indiana out of that lawsuit on day one. But I think symbolically it's important to stand up and say this is not good policy. This is simply just about someone's partisan political agenda. Killing the ACA would have a profound impact on Hoosiers. We're talking about 2.7 million who have some type of pre-existing condition, right? Whether that's high blood pressure, diabetes, a positive test for coronavirus. That means if Todd, Rokita, and Curtis Hill are successful, that means these individuals are going to have a very difficult time finding insurance in the future, or they're going to have to pay exorbitant rates. In addition, you have 550,000 Hoosiers who have received health care through the expansion of the Healthy Indiana Plan, which was enabled under the Affordable Care Act. These are folks who are going to immediately lose their insurance right in the middle of a global pandemic. This makes zero sense, and frankly, I find it unconscionable.
There's perhaps nothing that has dominated headlines over this year, obviously more than COVID-19. What would you do as Attorney General to confront this pandemic?
Well, first, probably one of the more important things that has transpired over this last several months is the governor's public statewide mask order, right? Curtis Hill issued an advisory opinion basically saying he doesn't have the legal authority to do that. My opponent, Todd Rokita, says, well, we all just have the legislature deal with it. And, frankly, I'm the only one who stood up and actually supported the Republican governor because, frankly, we have to get this virus under control. The Consumer Protection Division, I think, would be incredibly important as we're protecting seniors from fraud and abuse. I think, through the Medicaid, also the Medicaid Fraud Division, making sure we're holding nursing homes accountable.
How do you see your role in the discussion around police reform, and what would you push for?
We have to give law enforcement the utmost respect, and frankly, they need to be involved in these discussions. But with that, I think we ought to start with what the Indiana Black Legislative Caucus has put on the table. I think there are some good ideas there. I think several things we ought to be doing is requiring police officers throughout the state to wear body cams.
I think a lot of people don't know or misunderstand what the Office of the Attorney General does. So in your view, as you're running for this office and talking to voters, what do you see as the most important duty of the Attorney General?
Basically, it is to be the people's attorney, but it means representing the people. And especially in this case with coronavirus, making sure we're protecting them, protecting their health care, protecting their wages, trying to create a better future for them. There are a lot of people who say, well, let's get back to normal. Well, there's no going back to, life has changed dramatically. And what this creates is an opportunity for us to really shape our future, right? And I'd like to be a part of those discussions and leading Indiana to a place where there's greater opportunity and that we have a more just and fair system for everybody.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
My pleasure. Thank you.